In 1998, a man opened his mailbox and found a letter addressed to himself. That alone wasn't strange. What was strange was the handwriting. It was his handwriting. The name on the envelope was his, and the return address simply said, 20 years from now. His name was Daniel. He lived alone in a quiet apartment in a small American town. He wasn't famous, wealthy, or involved in anything unusual. At first, Daniel assumed it was a prank. He opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. There were only 3 sentences. Tomorrow, at 7:15 in the evening, the power will go out. Do not leave your apartment. And whatever you hear outside, do not open the door. Daniel laughed. It sounded ridiculous. But the next evening, at exactly 7:15, every light in the building suddenly went out. The entire neighborhood went dark. Daniel froze. Then he heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow footsteps. Someone stopped directly outside his apartment. Then came 3 knocks. Daniel stared at the door. Knock. 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 He remembered the letter. Do not open the door. For several seconds, he didn't move. Then the footsteps slowly disappeared. The next morning, Daniel checked the hallway. There was nobody there. But something was lying on the floor outside his apartment. Another envelope. This time, the message was longer. I know you think this is a joke. It isn't. The first letter was written by me 20 years ago. And if you are reading this, I have already made the mistake you're about to make. Daniel's hands began to shake. He turned the paper over. On the back was a photograph. It showed Daniel standing in front of his apartment. But the photograph looked old. Very old. And in the bottom corner was a date. 2018. Daniel looked at the photograph again. The man standing in it looked exactly like him. Same face. Same clothes. Same scar above his eyebrow. But Daniel had never taken that photograph. For the next few days, more letters appeared. Every letter predicted something. A car accident that happened 3 streets away. A phone call from an old friend Daniel hadn't spoken to in years. Even the exact time his kitchen window would crack. Everything happened exactly as the letters predicted. Then came the final letter. There was no date. No explanation. Only one sentence. Tomorrow, at midnight, you will finally understand why I sent these letters. Daniel stayed awake that night. At 11:58, nothing happened. At 11:59, he heard a key turning in his front door. Daniel stood up. His heart began pounding. The door slowly opened. And someone walked inside. It was an older man. His hair was gray. His face was covered with scars. But Daniel recognized him immediately. It was himself. 20 years older. The older Daniel looked at him and whispered, I tried to stop this. Daniel couldn't speak. The older man placed one final envelope on the table. Then he said, You have 2 choices. You can burn every letter and forget what happened, or you can send them back to me. Daniel looked at the envelope. His hands were trembling. He opened it. Inside was a photograph. This time, it showed the 2 Daniels standing together. But there was something terrifying in the background. A third figure was standing behind them. A figure neither of them recognized. Daniel looked up. The older version of himself was gone. The front door was locked. And on the table was a fresh envelope. Addressed to Daniel, 20 years ago. To this day, Daniel's story remains unexplained. Because according to the final letter, the first letter was never supposed to exist. And yet somehow, Daniel had already mailed it.